massive thank you to SwitchBot for sending me their brand new S20 floor cleaning robot to have a play with. I've not reviewed a proper mopping robot vacuum before. This is the first one I've ever used, and I was pretty excited to be sent this. So this is an upgrade on last year's S10 floor cleaning robot, and a lot of the features are the same, but they have made a number of quite significant improvements, which I'll come to in a bit. So you've still got a runtime of 150 minutes on quiet mode or 70 minutes on max mode. You've got that roller mop underneath still, LiDAR navigation and AI navigation, so as it can identify socks or cables that you've left lying around and avoid them. But there are three massive improvements that they've made to the S20, and I'm going to talk about these in order of importance and work my way up to the biggest change, just to add a bit of drama here. Firstly, they've changed the design of the little side brush underneath to a V-shaped one. So most robot vacuums have like a triple brush thing going on, but this new V-shaped design is supposedly less likely to get tangled up with hair. That's what all of the promotional material that SwitchBot have sent me says anyway. And to be honest, I think it might actually work, because with the other robot vacuums I've used, if they're in regular use, then you do have to remove the brush to cut the hair off them every week or so. I haven't actually had to do that yet with the S20, and I've been running it for a good couple of weeks now. Secondly, they've increased the suction power of the vacuum from 6,500 pascals to 10,000 pascals. That is an increase of over 50% in suction power, which actually brings it in line with a lot of the competition, because that's probably where the original one was lacking a bit, because 6,500 pascals was at the lower end. 10,000 pascals is still now down at the lower end, with companies like Eufy bringing out the E25 and E28, which both have 20,000 pascals of suction, and the Ecovacs X8 Pro Omni, which has 18,000 pascals of suction. For comparison, a regular cordless vacuum like a Shark or a Dyson has between 30 to 50,000 pascals of suction, so some of these robot brands are starting to get very close to the power of a normal vacuum cleaner. It's also important to remember that you only really need those higher levels of suction when you're on a carpeted floor, and the S20 is a mopping floor cleaner, so if you're getting this, you've probably got hard floors anyway, and with hard floors you don't need all of that suction power. You can quite happily run it on a lower power setting and get the same results. And finally, the biggest change to the S20, the base station. With the S10, you had a main base station which stored the dust bag that the vacuum would empty itself into. This was known as the dry station. You also had a second, more compact station, the water station, that was plumbed directly into your water supply and the drain. Your S10 robot could wander over to the water station, fill itself up, go around mopping your floors, go back over to the water station, empty the dirty water and clean itself, then go dock in the dry station to charge. This was and still is amazing. Totally automated, no need to get involved in filling up and emptying water tanks at all. But what if you just didn't have space for that water station, or if, like me, the plumbing under your sink is in such an awkward position that you'd have to make a lot of changes to be able to connect it all up? Well, that's exactly what SwitchBot have sorted with the S20. You can now choose which base station you want. You can get a dry station, just like the S10 had, which charges the vacuum and stores the dry waste, and you can pair that with the S10's water station, which is plumbed directly into your water supply and waste. Or you can get the new water tank base station, so it's all totally standalone with a built-in 2.7 litre clean water tank and a 2.5 litre wastewater tank. Plus it has the 4 litre dust bag inside too. Right then, this here is the new base station, so let me turn the camera around so as I can give you a closer look. So we've got the base station here and we've got the actual robot down there, but let's look at the base station first. Now, it is quite big. It is quite big, I'll be honest with you. It's a lot wider, but it's got to be wider to accommodate the bigger robot there. Now, on the top, we have got these two water tanks. Just lifting that up because that's actually full. This is your clean water tank, and this one here is your dirty water tank. You can see a bit of dirty water in there at the moment. Now, on the front, we have got this flap. Now, annoyingly, this doesn't just fold down, it comes straight off. Would have been useful to have some hinges here, I'll be honest, because the first time I took this off, it just fell straight on the floor because I didn't realise it hadn't got hinges. In here, you've got your SwitchBot floor cleaning solution. Now, you add a couple of capfuls of that to the clean water tank, but you can store the bottle just there. And next to that, we've got the dust bag, and it's I think 4 litre dust bag, but annoyingly, it's got this plastic attachment on the side of it. Now, the K10 Plus Pro has got cardboard, one of these instead of plastic, and I think that's a little bit more sustainable. It's not great having a big plastic disposable single-use item stuck to the side of that, so I would have preferred to see cardboard. I'm going to see if I can find a third-party one of these for replacement bags that have got cardboard on there, but it is what it is. So I'll put that in there and we can put the flap back on. Now, down here you have got obviously the little, what do you call them, entry points for the water. So this is where the I guess the dirty water and the clean water are pumped into the robot or out of the robot. This bit here is the dust exit, and you can see the infrared area there, which I assume the robot uses to help locate the base station. Now, this is quite an interesting little bit down here. Now, you might have seen adverts on the internet for those special bath mats that are made of stone, and you stand on them and they sort of absorb the water really well, like instantly. Well, this is like a little mini version of one of those, and it just sits down there, and any water that drips out, it collects it up and helps it dry out nice and quickly, stops you getting flooding. Oh, and I've just got hidden around the back here, they also give you this little mat, which is to stick on your floor to stop any water leaking onto your floor. So if you've got like wooden floors and you don't want to get them damaged, you stick this down and you can wipe the water off there, because obviously there will be some water dripping, especially because there's a wet mop underneath here, and it's going to be sitting just above the floor. So if you need to protect your floor, you have to put this down underneath. I don't, where I've got this sitting in my dining room, because it's like a vinyl floor, so it doesn't really matter. But if you've got wooden floor, this is quite important. Okay, let's take a look at the robot then. Now, this is going to be awkward to do this with one hand, but you can take this cover off, and underneath there you've got the dust box. So that just slides out. There is a filter inside that you can change, and also a little cutting tool in case you need to cut hair and stuff off the rollers. Let's put that back in. Right, around at the back you've got the water tank, and that just pops out like this.
Wastewater box removed.
Yeah, wastewater box removed, and yeah, that shouldn't have any water, and you can see it's got a bit of condensation in. That just goes back in there.
Wastewater box installed.
Thank you. And at the front we have got these little cameras here, that's how it sees where it's going, and you've got the LiDAR sensor on the top. Now I'm going to turn this over and hopefully no water leaks anywhere. And underneath we've got this fancy new 2-pronged brush, which is different to the original one, or the older ones, which had like 3 brushes on them. We've got the mop here, which can be removed. I haven't actually figured out how to do that yet, but I will have to figure that out. It is self-cleaning. You can see that looks a little bit dirty at the moment. That's because I didn't let it finish the last self-cleaning cycle, which I should have done, but I was just experimenting with drying times. Now we've got this anti-tangle rubber brush here as well, which you can see it hasn't really got anything tangled around it. There's a little bit of hair around the end here, but that is not bad at all. Put that back together, but this is an enormous and heavy robot, so it's going to put a lot of downward pressure on your floors when it's mopping, so should do a good job. Before we go and test this out, it needs a name. This is the most important part of robot vacuum ownership, I think you'll all agree. So we've had Brittany Clear's, my first SwitchBot robot vacuum, the K10 Plus. Then we had Clear Starmer, the K10 Plus Pro. And the last one I reviewed was the K10 Plus Pro Combo, or Hugh Vackman and Wolver Clean as they preferred to be called. But I thought I would take a different approach with naming this robot. I thought I'd try and be a bit more sophisticated this time, maybe make reference to one of the classic novels. This robot is, by comparison to the others, massive, almost whale-like proportions. And it is very fond of water too, with all of that mopping that it does. So I'd like to introduce you to Moppy Dick, the SwitchBot S20 floor cleaning robot. Moppy Dick, like Moby Dick, but it mops? No? Never mind. So we've got to give this a proper test, of course. So you know what it's like. You're in your kitchen and you accidentally drop ketchup on the floor, or you're making your breakfast and you just spill the milk. Or you've been working out in the garden and your muddy boots are going absolutely everywhere. You know what, that ketchup needs a bit of a squidge around to clear that up. I'm going to be in so much trouble when my wife gets home if the mop doesn't actually clean this up. Okay, so I've got my phone ready to go and we're going to set it to clean a room, and we're just going to choose my kitchen. Now let's have a look at what mode we need it in. We're going to use vac and mop mode, which means it's basically going to mop and clean at the same time, or mop and vacuum at the same time. This is quite dirty, so I'm going to be fair. I'm going to make it do it twice. We'll put it on max suction power. Now, mopping water level, you've got two options. You can either have it moist or wet. Now, I did try moist out and it just kind of licks the floor a little bit, but wet mode works a lot better. You have also got this option here at the bottom for base station not marked. Now what that does is that lets you put the mopping vacuum in a different room to where the base station is, so I could move this to my conservatory if I wanted to, but that's not what I need here because the base station is just around the corner over there. So vac and mop mode, wet mode, max suction, 2 cleaning times, and right, let's press play and see how it gets on. Okay, so it's finished cleaning now and it's done a reasonable job. Let me show you. So this is where the ketchup was. There isn't any sign of any ketchup anywhere. The milk was just around here. Again, that is feeling great. It's not sticky, or there's a little bit sticky just there. Just a tiny little area here about that sort of size, so that could probably do with another go over, but the rest of it is great. However, the mud, it wasn't quite so successful with. So we've got, I mean, most of the mud has gone. I mean, you did see I put a huge amount on. That's probably way more than your floor would realistically have. You'd probably want to get a proper mop out if you actually had that much mud on the floor. But there is a few streaks here, a few little patches, so a bit there, a bit there, a bit there. Let me just lick my finger. It will rub off if I needed it to. So I think I'm going to get the mop to do it again. We'll give it another go over, just see if it can get rid of the mud. Now you can get it to do spot cleaning, so you can tell it I want to just do this area here, and it will do that. So I'm gonna have a play with that feature in a minute. thought I'd better have a look at what I've done to it, because that was quite a messy floor I challenged it with. Now you can see the roller mop is still a little bit dirty. It has been self-cleaning because I can see gunk all around here, and there's ketchup and mud all mixed together. I'm going to have to clean this brush properly now because that is all muddied and ketchuped. And then this, the vacuum roller here, that is absolutely minging. So I'm going to have to give the floor cleaning robot a good clean itself. It's all stuck in the wheels as well. So this was an extreme challenge really. It's designed for sort of daily maintenance rather than a deep clean, but it's interesting to see how it dealt with that. Yeah, this is inside the vacuum roller. So I just took the roller out and you can see it's just full of ketchup. So I think I'm going to have to give the dust box a good clean. Maybe don't try and use this robot to clean up a huge bottle of ketchup that you've just squirted on the floor. Once it's finished cleaning, it'll go back to the base station to clean itself, and once it's clean, it'll start drying the roller mop. Now here's the thing about that drying step. It can be a bit noisy and it goes on for 4 hours by default, and it can use quite a bit of energy. I don't have the data for the S20, but the FAQ for the S10 says that it can use almost half a kilowatt hour. You can adjust how long the drying process lasts in the app, and I've done a bit of experimenting. 1 hour is not long enough. 3 hours and it's pretty much dry in the summer. I guess it really depends on the ambient temperature and humidity in your home, so you might need to play around with that. What you can do though is turn off auto dry if you want, and then manually set it to dry overnight when it's potentially less likely to annoy you. So while I'm talking about things that annoy me, I might as well talk about the other issue that I have with this robot vacuum, and the main one is the size. Now I know that this is basically the same for most robot vacuums and mopping robot vacuums. They're all enormous. If you have a large open plan home with a lot of hard floors, then this is great. But in smaller homes, and my home is not tiny, but it's not a large UK house by any means, but in smaller homes you end up with more obstacles. And by obstacles I mean things like chair legs under tables, or things like our really small breakfast bar with narrow stools in the way. Moppy Dick is just too big to fit into these... Sorry. Moppy Dick is just too big to fit into this... Moppy Dick is just too big to fit into these small places. I'm sorry, I thought I could do that line with a straight face, but it turns out I can't, so... Such a child. Once you have to start moving furniture out of the way before the robot can do its job, then you're losing the benefits of automating your housework. It's why I like the K10 Plus Pro so much. The K10 Plus Pro is so much more compact, meaning it can easily get between chair legs and get to the places where most larger robot vacuums can't physically fit. But the K10 Plus Pro can't mop your floors. Well, you can attach a wet wipe to the bottom of it and it'll have a go, but dragging a wet wipe around the floor is pointless really. It just doesn't do anything. In an ideal world, and SwitchBot, if you're watching this, then please start making some notes. The best mopping robot vacuum would be if you could get all of the technology from the S20 and put it in a robot the size of the K10 Plus Pro. I don't care if it has to make multiple visits to the base station to top up with water. A mopping robot that size would be the holy grail of robot vacuums. Maybe next year, let me know. Oh, and while you have your notebook out, I have another suggestion. Now let me show you something, and it's just down here. Now these are called skirting boards in the UK. I think they're called baseboards in other parts of the world, and they really do build up with dust quite quickly. And these ones in particular actually are hidden behind a door, so we forget about them. But wouldn't it be great if a robot vacuum could clean these as it went around the room? It just needs some sort of brush on the side that could get rid of all of this dust and make these look a lot neater, and it would just do it as it's going around doing the edges of the room. The previous robot vacuums all came with spare consumables. You got a spare dust bag, spare side brush, spare filter. They're cheap items, but it was good to know you had replacements available to hand. The S20 doesn't come with any spares. You get one of each item which you immediately install, so straight away you're going to want to go and order some spare parts to keep in ready for if a part needs replacing. cleaning. So that's just something to keep in mind. Given the price of this item and how cheap those consumable parts are, it does seem to be a little stingy to not have some extras included. I'm going to stop moaning now though, because I still have plenty of good stuff to talk about, and we're going to jump into the app for this one. SwitchBot's app is, as always, very clearly laid out and easy to use, and because I've been using other SwitchBot vacuums for a while now, the interface is basically very familiar to me. The one new thing I did notice with the S20 though is the AI obstacle avoidance, and you had this on the S10 as well. SwitchBot are very keen to point out that all AI obstacle avoidance processing is done on device, and you even have to peel a large sticker off the vacuum telling you about that before you can start using it. That's because under the sticker are some cameras which it uses to keep an eye on its surroundings. It even has its own built-in headlights to help it see in the dark too. Now you can't actually use these cameras manually. It would be pretty cool if you could use the vacuum as a surveillance drone, but no, they are totally internal only to the robot and used to identify random objects that are in its way. It will spot things like cables that you've left lying around. I've seen it put a pet icon on the map for food bowls and beds. It also puts a little ball of wool icon up if it detects things like blankets, and I've even seen shoes spotted on there too. When it detects objects, it will attempt to avoid them. Personally, I've found switching to agile mode gives the best performance, even if it does hit a few things along the way. The vacuum operates a little less cautiously, but it does clean closer to the objects. If you watch the vacuum in action, then when it detects something, you'll see it do a special little dance where it suddenly backs off from the item so as it can get a better view of it. I know there's a technical reason for it doing that, but it does make it feel almost more sentient. Like it's going, what's that in my way? Let's have a better look at what that is. It doesn't always pick things up accurately. Sometimes it picks up a blanket as cables, and sometimes it picks up our unusual shaped pet feeder as a pair of shoes. But that doesn't really matter. The important thing is that it's identified an object and will avoid it, and I'm sure the AI detection will get more accurate over time. The vacuum will connect to Home Assistant too using several methods. You've got direct Bluetooth, SwitchBot Cloud and Matter. At the time of recording this video, which is mid-August, only the Matter integration currently works, and that's when it's paired with a SwitchBot hub. But just like the other Matter vacuum integrations, it is literally just a toggle switch to turn it on or off. But the other integrations are likely to follow very shortly and will probably be available by the time that you watch this video. It's quite normal for it to take a few weeks after a product release for SwitchBot devices to be fully supported by Home Assistant. And there will be a firmware update coming at some point in September to enable direct Matter-over-WiFi too. In theory, that means I should be able to pair it directly with Apple Home. I'll probably put a video together about all of these smart features once they're released and I've been able to test them. What I will say now though is that SwitchBot has a good reputation for supporting Home Assistant, and their other robot vacuums that I've tried out all support it brilliantly. Anyway, I hope that you found this interesting. Please give this video a like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for free to see more from me. I'll put links in the description to where you can buy the SwitchBot S20 from if you're interested, and I'll get a bit of a kickback if you do use those links to buy one. A massive thank you to my channel members and patrons listed here for supporting the channel. If you'd like to become a channel member or a patron too, then check out the links down in the description. In return, you'll get early access to my videos and some bonus content too. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.